Hi guys, Alec Pierce, Scuba Tech Tips, and here we are at Adventure Sports in Newmarket, Ontario. Great little dive store. Make sure if you're in Ontario, Southern Ontario, we're just 15 minutes north of Toronto. Great little dive store, owned by Jody, a good friend of mine for many, many years. Somebody asked a question a little while ago about the O-rings on your high-pressure swivel. Every computer, hose-mounted computer, air-integrated hose-mounted, and every SPG for sure is like this. It has a swivel. Just a little thing from my past. I have a great past. I have more past than I have future. So I like to share some of the things. They didn't used to swivel. Yeah. When the first SPG, it was called the Seaview, SEA-VUE, Seaview. Yeah, it was invented by another dear friend of mine, Sam Lecoq. Unfortunately, Sam is gone now. Sam Lecoq, who worked Healthways, and he worked for Scuba Pro, and he worked for Voight for a long time. Oh, then he started his own company called Sportsways. Also, anyway, he invented the first SPG, Seaview, VUE. Sam wasn't very good at spelling. Anyway, it didn't swivel. But fairly quickly, they put a swivel on because divers found that they pick it up and it was facing the wrong way and they had to twist the hose. So now, for almost always, since about the 70s now, he invented that in about 1961 or 2. So since about the 70s, they all swivel. Now this is a high pressure. This is 3,000 PSI. Generally, at that time it wasn't, but now they're all 3,000 PSI. There's a swivel in there. How does that work? I mean, you and I and everybody else has a garden hose, which is about 40 or 50 PSI, and they always leak. They always leak, you know, but it leaks every time. How do they get these to seal? Well, it's actually very simple. It's a very interesting and way that they get these to seal. And so somebody asked the other day, well, how do I fix it? Mine is leaking. Because often you get a stream of bubbles coming out, a stream of bubbles going up there. I don't know. And your other buddies laugh at you. So if you use 2 wrenches, you need 2 wrenches because there's going to be a nut, if you like, on the plastic head. Okay, it looks like 9/16, and there's going to be another nut on the actual swivel, and you must hold the plastic nut, the nut on the plastic head. If you don't hold that and you just turn the swivel part like this, what'll happen is you'll break the plastic. So you have to hold this nut. I think I've mentioned this in a previous video when we were doing some service. You hold this nut on the head, hold it steadily, steady, and then I used to teach English. And then another wrench goes onto the actual swivel part here, and turn it and undo it. It comes apart. It's really pretty simple. Now, you look down inside and you'll see it's kind of grubby in there. Use your Q-tip. Get a Q-tip and put it down in there and pull it out. The Q-tip will be all dirty. You could take a tiny drop, you almost can't see it, drop of silicone grease and put it on there, a little bit on the threads. That's not a bad idea. And then similarly, down in here, you're going to find a hole. Oh, there's no hole down in there. What is down in there is the air spool. And you'll see it has an O-ring at each end. And now you can also see it's pretty dirty. Black, greasy, dirty. There's no grease in here. That black is almost invariably rubber. Little black hair, that's rubber. Sure, the rubber deteriorates, and as it spins, it's 3,000 PSI. And as it spins around in there, slowly breaks down, and the O-rings wear out, and pretty soon you got a leak. If it's a serious leak, you lose a lot of air. So what do? Well, you've already cleaned this hole out, and now you can see that hole. Q-tip, little wee tiny bit of silicone grease. What do you do about this thing? Well, there's a couple of things that you can do. Personally, what I suggest you do is go to your local dive store, Adventure Sports or wherever it happens to be, and say, I need an air spool, please. And the dive store owner, he'll go, pull out a drawer, and straight or top hat. And what he's saying is, does it look like this? Or does it look like this? There's the 2 styles, straight or top hat. So then you say, oh, well, it's straight. In fact, if you're smart, you'll have the old one with you. Because even these come in different sizes. Some are long, some are small, and a little bit different. And so he'll then go to his supplies and he'll pull one out and sell it to you. And then you've cleaned it out and you put the new one in, and you take this one and you put it where all of the important things in your scuba bag belong. in the garbage. Don't keep it around because somebody might pick it up by accident and try to use it. And put the new one in. Tiniest bit of silicone grease. I'm assuming silicone grease. Well, this is silicone grease because it's ESPG. If you use nitrox, then you should be using OCA grease. But a bit of silicone grease on here is fine. Little tiny bit of silicone grease, and you slide that in there, and you slide that in there, and you put them back together snugly. Don't forget to hold that nut. Now, that's the smart way to do it. That's the way I started doing it after many years of the frustrating job of changing the O-rings. But the question that one of you asked a little while ago on one of our tips is, how do I change the O-rings? Well, I haven't answered that, have I? No, I haven't. Put that one aside, and let's take a look. Here's what you do if you want, because you can do that. You can change the O-rings. Now, you can go to Adventure Sports or go to a dive store, anywhere it is, and instead of saying, give me an air spool, you can say to the dive store owner, you can say, Jody, I need 2 O-rings for my air spool. You see? And he's happy to sell you the O-rings. $6. He might give you a break. You might sell them to you for $4.95. And then you take them home, and you take off the old rings and put the new ones on. You see where I'm going here? First of all, this old spool is dirty. I can see light through it, but it's dirty in there. How do you clean it out? Well, you can soak it, and clean it out, and take the old O-rings off, and put the new ones on. That is all front. These are small. You learn how to put it into the palm of your hand and pop. Got my hand dirty now. It's not easy to do. What most people will do, they'll pick up a needle from their wife, you see, and they'll dig the needle in under the O-ring, and there, we got it, pop it out like so. It's not good, because now you have scratched the groove. I never thought about that, did you? Yeah, you scratch the groove. It's not much. But first of all, we're talking 3,000 psi. It can make a difference. You don't want to scratch the groove. So that's what happens if you use your wife's stainless steel sewing needles. So what you really have to have is a proper dive store brass pick. And then you take the pick and you get it in under there like that, if you possibly can, and you pop it out like, oh, maybe it's going to come, and you work away at it, and eventually, if you're really lucky, it'll pop in there, and the O-ring will sometimes pop out. This O-ring is old, and dried, and cracked. Get it in there, under the O-ring, work it up slowly over the end, and work it around. Anyway, it's small, ladies and gentlemen. So now you got the old O-ring out, and I can tell right now that it's dirty. Look at my fingers. You see? That thing should be spotlessly clean. And this other one is the one that had the hair sticking off of it. So you get all this nice and clean. And then you got to get that O-ring back on, which is not the easiest thing in the world. Get it all back together. Gosh darn it. Now, go and buy an air spool with O-rings already installed. A little bit of pop it in there. That's my suggestion. But if you want to, change the O-rings, and you buy some O-rings, and you clean up the swivel. That's how you do it. Just about that simple. And again, try to use brass, not steel. You don't scratch it. Put it back together and you're all set to go. No more leaks. Okay, I hope that answers your question. I'm sorry I forget who it was that asked about that, but now you all know how to change the O-rings on your high pressure swivel. Okay, hope that helped a little bit. Alec Pierce, Tech Tips.